Today is no ordinary day. It's Friday the 13th, a day that has long sent shivers down the spines of the unsuspecting. But why does this day hold so much ominous power? Why do we tread so carefully when the calendar strikes 13 on a Friday? So much so that there is a movie franchise based on this unlucky day.
I don't think there is anyone out there that doesn't know who Jason Voorhees is, or the name of the movie franchise he came from. Friday the 13th has had a massive impact on the slasher genre. So much so that our killer has appeared in video games, inspired copycat films, and thousands of people dress up as him for Halloween. One has to wonder if there were any true crime cases that may have inspired the overall theme of Friday the 13th.
What makes this day so unlucky? Is luck a real thing, or is it what we make it? When and where did it get started? Let's find out together, shall we? Welcome to Tales from the Graves, where shadows lurk and whispers echo.
Join us as we delve into the unknown, exploring tales of mystery, horror, and the supernatural.
Be prepared to journey into the darkness, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
Together, we're the Graves Sisters, and we'll be your guides as we unearth the strange and unusual.
So find your flashlight, grab your shovel, and let's dig in.
The following podcast is rated for mature audiences.
It may contain graphic scenes of violence and explicit language that some may find disturbing.
Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to our special bonus episode, Gravediggers. I am super excited about Friday the 13th coming up, and we wanted to do a special little episode for you guys.
Yeah, Jen actually proposed that we do this for you beloved Gravediggers. Growing up, we have always been fascinated with the concept of bad luck, and what better way to explore that fascination than to do a bonus episode for everyone. I have researched some of the lore and the history of Friday the 13th, and Jen has something that she wants to share. What do you have?
Oh, yeah. So I have a case, okay? And while this case didn't take place on Friday the 13th, I did come across a fan theory online that maybe the Friday the 13th movies were loosely based on this case. Like maybe it gave them an idea or something. I don't think that that's very accurate though, because even the guys who came up with Friday the 13th have come out and been like, yeah, no, the money from Halloween is what inspired us to do this film. So I don't think it's true, but I did want to cover this case regardless. Now I'm not going to do a deep dive just because both of us have something to bring to this episode. I'm going to do an overview, and then if you guys want us to do a more in-depth dive into this particular case, let us know, and I will be more than happy to just root through all of those files and find everything that I can, because honestly,
I think you really like to do research.
I mean, I do. I hyperfixate on things, but it has to be something that just grabs my interest, because I've made the mistake of planning out my episodes for a long time, into the future, and I get to them and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do this one, but it's already on the Trello, so I have to do it. Yeah, maybe. So,
I mean, you could have done what I did, switch some episodes around.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. But anyway,
yeah, back to the bonus episode. So let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of history and lore on Friday the 13th. So you want to go ahead and dig in?
Yeah, let's get our shovels. Let's dig this bitch up.
Let's dig it up. So Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day due to the combination of several elements. It's been long associated with bad luck. The number 13 and the day, Friday, which are the two main elements, of course. The superstition surrounding this day has a deep historical roots and has been reinforced over centuries through cultural, religious, and societal influences. So first is the number 13.
Okay.
So there is historical superstitions involved with the number 13. The number 13 has been viewed as unlucky in many cultures for centuries. One of the most commonly cited reasons is its position after 12, which is often seen as complete or along those lines in a number of traditions, like 12 months of the year, 12 zodiac signs, 12 apostles. You get it. And adding one more to it makes 13, and it's seen as disrupting the sense of order in a way.
That's stupid.
I know. I mean,
you get
I
a
love
baker's
myself
dozen.
a baker's dozen. I was
Right?
about to say
Wow.
that. Yes,
Okay.
on the same page there.
Yeah.
There's also religious associations, because in Christianity, 13 is considered unlucky because of the Last Supper. So this is where Jesus dined with his 12 apostles the night before his crucifixion. And Judas, who betrayed Jesus, was the 13th guest, which further cemented the association with 13 with betrayal and misfortune. So I thought that one was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Well, there is also the Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, the number 13 is also considered unlucky. The story goes that 12 gods were having a banquet in Valhalla when the trickster god Loki crashed the party as the 13th guest, leading to chaos and the eventual death of the beloved god Balder.
Yeah, the reason why Loki crashed it is because he wasn't invited, and then previously Odin had already stated that he will not sup or drink if the god Loki was not sharing a cup with him, basically. Like, if he wasn't there to drink. So he even threw that in their face about it. Sorry, you mentioned something about the thing I know a lot about. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next thing is the day Friday. There is religious significance with the day Friday. It's been considered unlucky in several traditions. In Christianity, Jesus was crucified on Friday, which is, also known as Good Friday. As a result, Fridays were often seen as a day of penance and fasting. There's even folklore and tradition in medieval Europe. Fridays were often associated with execution days.
Really?
Yeah. I had no idea. I didn't know. I guess
Yeah,
it's like Friday is hanging day, baby.
Or beheading day.
Or beheading day, yeah.
Guillotine.
So, public hangings were commonly carried out on Fridays, further linking the day with bad luck and misfortune. Now, this is where we have to combine the two. So, the combination of Friday and the 13th, so historical records. The combination of Friday and the 13th did not become widely associated with bad luck until relatively recently. Like, it's more of a newer thing.
Oh, yeah, I kind of figured, just because there doesn't seem to be a lot of numerology or anything like that technically in the past where things are definitely considered bad.
Yeah. The superstition believed to have gained traction in the 19th century and early 20th century, although that there are early references to Friday the 13th being unlucky separately. But there's even a pop culture influence. The fear of the Friday the 13th was popularized by the 1907 novel Friday the 13th by Thomas W. Lawson, which told a story of a stockbroker who chose the day to cause a stock market crash.
What?
Yeah. He was like, Friday the 13th, let's crash the market. The superstition was further cemented in popular culture by the 1980 horror film franchise Friday the 13th, which you will be covering something about it later, which was associated with the day of terror and misfortune. Now, I'm going to have lots of trouble saying this word. That's good. I'm going to be saying in just a minute. But there's also a psychological factor. So the belief that in in Friday the 13th as an unlucky day can lead to confirmation bias, where people remember and emphasize bad events that occur on this day while overlooking good events or attributing bad luck to that date. So it seems like, like on one certain day, a whole bunch of good stuff can happen, but if one thing fucks your day up, worst day ever. You know what I'm saying? There is also the fear and anxiety. So the superstition has led to a recognized phobia or a fear of the number 13, which is paraskavidecatriophobia. The fear can cause significant anxiety and lead to people avoiding travel, work, or other activities on this day. But Friday the 13th is considered unlucky because it combines the superstition surrounding the number with the negative connotations of Friday. And over time, this day has become a cultural symbol of bad luck, which can only be reinforced by religious traditions, historical events, and pop culture. The belief of this unluckiness continues to persist, influencing behavior and contributing to the enduring mystique of Friday the 13th. That led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole trying to find how other people from around the world interpret Friday the 13th, or if they even celebrate Friday the 13th. Which means, no, not really. It's mainly just a Western society type of thing.
Well, I know in other cultures, like in Italy.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Italy, it's Friday the 17th that is considered unlucky.
Well, the reason why the 17 is considered unlucky is because the Italian pronunciation or word for it is very close to how they say death or die.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Right?
Yeah, I mean, when we were on our cruise, we didn't have a 17th deck.
Yeah, there was no deck 17.
Yeah, because we were on an Italian cruise line.
Along with, I know that a whole bunch of buildings don't have a 13th floor.
Yep.
In America.
Yep.
You'll go to try to get on floor 13. No, there's not a 13 button on some of those places. So I think that was pretty cool. Now, in Spain, it's not the date, but the day which varies. So rather than Friday the 13th, it's Tuesday the 13th. That is traditionally unlucky. Why a Tuesday? I don't know. I thought that was cool. But I mean, other than that, most other countries don't really believe in Friday the 13th. It's just basically us in the United States. But if you do happen to feel unlucky, you could do the old school things to combat the bad luck, like the regular stuff like knock on wood, hang a horseshoe, carry a lucky rabbit's foot, find a 4-leaf clover. But I also know that with the horseshoe, is it because whenever you hang it above a door frame, do you put it with the bent part facing down and the bent part facing up? I can't remember which one's good luck and which one's bad luck. But either way, those are some ways that some people avoid having bad luck. But along with bad luck comes good luck. I mean, you can find a penny, pick it up. All day long, you'll have good luck. You can, some people throw salt over their shoulder, over their left shoulder if they spill salt and stuff like that. Because, the devil could be on your shoulder. You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, salt is supposed to be, it's considered a purifier.
Yeah.
Right? You cure meat by using salt and things of that nature. And so it's just oh my God, I spilled the salt. Let me just take a pinch and over my shoulder. I was the devil's on your shoulder. He's the one who knocked over the salt.
He knocked over the salt. Oh my God. Making you waste it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, other than that, there's really not a lot to go with other places that are, that consider Friday the 13th unlucky.
Okay, so I looked up a little bit about horseshoes. They were originally made from iron that was considered magical as it withstood fire. It was used as a charm to ward off evil spirits. Oh. Iron coins were believed to bring prosperity. Horseshoes are hung with 7 nails, as 7 is said to be a fortunate number. There is also an Irish legend about Saint Dunstan, a blacksmith who nailed a hot horseshoe to one of the devil's hooves. This scared the devil, and he would never enter a home with a horseshoe hung above the door.
PTSD.
Yeah, even the sailors were believed to nail horseshoes to the mast of their ship to help their vessel avoid dangerous weather.
That was really cool. Okay,
Yeah.
well, dang. Well, that's all that I have on some of the lore and some of the history on Friday the 13th. And speaking of Friday the 13th, you said, so I've never really seen a lot of the Friday the 13th movies. I've only seen like 3 of them.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm a bad horror fan. I'm not a poser, I promise. I love horror, but I just... I'm not a poser. But I just haven't seen all... I mean, how many flippin' Jason movies are there?
There's a lot.
Oh.
Yeah, eventually he kind of... I know that they did a whole bunch of retcon with the Halloween franchise, which is honestly probably good just because...
Because Jamie Lee Curtis is a goddess.
Well, besides that, it's just like the story got more and more obscure and weird. Now, Friday the 13th didn't do any better, honestly.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't watched the movies, I guess spoiler alert, but they've been out since like the 80s, okay? You've had time. In the first film, it's not Jason. Jason is the reason for the killings.
It's his mom.
Yeah, it's Mrs. Voorhees, because she blames the camp counselors from the time that she was working there as like a lunch lady or some crap. They were fooling around instead of watching Jason. And I know that there's different, like, people have actually dug into it and things of that nature, but it's the second one where Jason Voorhees actually becomes the killer. And he is associated with the hockey mask. He's associated with the machete. And those weren't actually things that he came out of the forest with, because like apparently he was living like a recluse. He was living like a recluse, and he came out with a burlap sack on his head, and he was just killing in whatever way he could. It was very creative. It was never like just, oh, let's just do this. So it was, he eventually became known with the hockey mask and the machete, though. Like those are the two things he is, like, you say Jason Voorhees or Friday the 13th and people think instantly that, but that's not what he started out with. It has 12 films.
Good Lord.
But they also have a Friday the 13th game, which I personally have never played, but I've seen a lot of people play it, and the meme value is very high in it. However, I think due to licensing and copyright issues, the developers of the game had to stop developing any additional DLCs or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, the studio was like, you can't do this. But it's still available to like play. I don't know if you can still buy it or not. I've never really looked into it, but the meme value is very high.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this case that I'm going to go over, I've wanted to go over regardless, just because it's an interesting case. But while I was doing some searching for Friday the 13th, this did come up as a potential influence for the movies. Like I said earlier, I don't really believe that. I see some similarities, but if it was, then it was just like a concept of tents, campers, death. That would have just literally been the concept that they would have gotten from it.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be going over it. I'm not going to be going in depth. Again, if you guys want me to go in depth with it, because it is a little bit bonkers. It's a whole ride if you want to start from the point A all the way to our most recent stuff, okay, with this particular case. But it takes place in Finland. So the names of the victims are a little bit hard to pronounce. So please give me a little bit of grace, like we all gave Jessica grace with her pronunciation of that
the
phobia.
Fear of 13. I tried hard. Okay, man.
The tragic tale starts off like most horror movies do, with two young couples going for a camping trip. It was on June 4th of 1960 that Malia Bjorklund and Anja Maki, both 15, went with their boyfriends Seppo Boisman and Niels Gustafsson, that they were 18. They went camping at Lake Bodom. It's roughly 12 miles or so from Helsinki. The following morning at around 6 a.m., a group of young boys had been bird watching nearby and remember seeing a blonde man walking away from the collapsed tent that the young couples had at their campsite. Now, these bird watching boys did not go over to investigate. They were bird watching. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they see a guy walking through a park. Guys walk through parks at 6 a.m. Like, you're going to go hiking. You're going to do something, right? So they thought nothing of it. Lots of people would show up during the day for camping, hiking, fishing, or other recreational activities like bird watching. It was at 11 a.m., however, that a jogger, Ritso Siren, I think, or Siren, found the bodies and alerted police. Anya and Seppo's bodies were both found inside the collapsed tent. They believe that the killer had cut the tie-downs on the tent so it would fall in, trapping them essentially like a net, and began to bludgeon the young couple through the tent. Malia, I don't know if I'm saying that right at all, was found lying on top of the tent, undressed from the waist down. Her wounds were significantly worse. Okay? Many of her stab wounds were actually inflicted after she had already died. So that tells me that
once she was gone, they just kept going, like they were angry about it.
So that tells me that this was almost a crime of passion, because a lot of times when you see post-mortem, like where they just continue going at it, because I don't know if any of you guys know, but the force needed to stab someone repeatedly, it's a lot. It's also very tiring.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just think about it, like, yeet, yeet, yeet. If you've ever had a hammer, I mean, I know that's probably heavier than whatever weapon they used, and you're nailing in nails constantly, you're gonna get tired, right?
I mean, I would. Shoot.
Yeah.
I get winded going down the stairs.
I mean, that just speaks about our level of fitness, which is poor. Niels, Malia's boyfriend, was also found outside the tent. He had several injuries, a concussion, a broken jaw, and a deep knife wound to the forehead, but he was actually still alive when the police arrived. You're probably thinking, oh, good, we have a survivor. We can ask him what happened and catch the killer.
I probably don't remember a damn thing.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
Man.
He sadly could not remember anything. Like, he had no memory really of the attacks. It almost seemed like it was a robbery gone really bad. Because whoever did it stole personal items from the victims, including their wallets and multiple articles of clothing. Niels's shoes and some of the stolen clothing were actually found about a half-mile from the scene. But the other items, as well as the murder weapon, was never found. Like, it was never recovered.
So they didn't see anything on the grounds or anything?
Like, there was obviously blood and footprints and stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot. And I'm going to kind of go over the police activity regarding this case later. Okay. So they get Niels to the hospital, and he tells them that there was black and red, and that's like all he could remember about the killer, the assailant. I've listened to a few podcasts on this particular one, as well as watched a couple videos regarding this case. Mm-hmm. And there is a whole lot to this case. This is, again, a broad overview, but it seemed like the boys were really, really good friends, like almost best friends, and they took their girlfriends there for a night of camping. And we do have an eyewitness testimony later that I'll go over, but it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
In this case, there were a few viable suspects. And just let me tell you, the police work on this case was a crackerjack job. Oh boy. One of the suspects was Kiosk Man, Carl Gilstrom.
Kiosk Man.
You see, he was kind of a huge asshole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He ran the nearby kiosk and for some reason hated campers. Don't know why.
Move your damn kiosk.
Right? He would slash tents and even go as far as throwing rocks at children. Right? He's a grown-ass man.
Okay.
Slashing people's tents, throwing rocks at kids. He apparently drunkenly confessed to the murders to one of his neighbors. You're like, oh, good. But the police didn't do any further investigation regarding that.
Because he was drunk and they thought it was just the drunken words.
No. Why? Why did they not do any further investigating? I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay, well tell me, dude.
They questioned Carl's wife, and she provided him with an alibi for the night of the murders. You know what that alibi was? They were in bed together sleeping. And the police were like, that's an airtight alibi. All right, he's not our killer.
Well, if she was asleep, you never know,
Girl,
she could be a heavy sleeper. I'm not a heavy sleeper, so I know if my partner gets out of bed.
Wait, hold on to your britches.
Oh, God, okay.
Something suspicious about him, though, was that he was also filling in a well in his front yard only days after the murders.
Oh.
Many people believe he hid the murder weapon or stolen items there, but a search of the property didn't find anything. In 1969, he went and drowned himself in Lake Bodom.
What?
Yeah. And eventually, on her deathbed, Carl's wife recanted the alibi she had given him. She claimed to have been afraid of him, and he had threatened to kill her if she told police that he had not actually been home that night. Yes. Yes. So there's our first suspect, a very likely suspect, a suspect that drowned himself in the very lake where we had found our campers who had been injured badly and killed. He drunkenly confessed to doing said murders, but that's okay. It's still not him, even though she recanted. You know, who cares?
Well, maybe they were like, well, the guy's dead, so there's nothing we can do about it, so...
I don't know, maybe. I don't know, man.
This is like... okay.
Our second suspect is Hans Assmann.
Excuse me?
Spelled ass, A-S-S, man, M-A-N-N. Yes. He has a very unfortunate last name, Hans Assmann. He was an alleged KGB spy and a former Nazi.
Oh.
Love it. Love it.
Yes, love that for him.
He was a suspect because on the morning of the murder, he came into the Helsinki Surgical Hospital, fingernails black, with dirt, and clothes covered in red stains. The staff state that he was acting weird and aggressive, and even feigned unconsciousness at one point. He faked being unconscious, okay?
I had to Kalea. Oh, he's got the vapors.
Police barely questioned him, and he too supposedly had a solid alibi for the night of the murders. Because of this alibi, which everything I read did not state, but you know, I was just doing a quick overview anyway, they didn't take any samples of the red stains on his clothes. Like they would have been able to do much in 1960 anyway with it, but they could have been like, we're just gonna see what this here is. Maybe it's blood and we can get a blood type. No, they didn't do that.
I didn't do shit.
Yeah. A good reason to keep asking him questions, though, was the fact that he matched the description of the blonde man the birdwatchers saw. Hans was seen sporting a nice short haircut, like super short, soon after the police sketches came out of the blonde man that the birdwatchers saw, because he had slightly longer hair.
Okay.
Yeah. It is also worth noting that Hans Assmann looked...
I'm sorry. Every time I hear ass, I'm like, ass man.
Assmann. He looked a lot like the sketch. But he had an alibi. So it can't be him, can it?
I want to know what that fucking alibi was.
Me too.
And they didn't share it at all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Now, after the fact, the doctor who examined Hans went on to write 3 books about him.
Of course he
and
did.
his connection to the Lake Bodom murders. And then, former detective Matti Polaro? Maybe I said that right. I probably didn't.
Sounded about right.
Sure. He was able to connect Hans Assmann. I just like saying that because he was a Nazi and I want to make fun of him. He was able to connect him to 5 other unsolved murders.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he could connect him to other murders, but not at all to the Lake Bodom.
Yeah, apparently. Because of his alibi.
Okay.
Good old Hans was a fan favorite for this murder up until 2004. 44 years after the murders took place, the police reopened the case. They claimed that with the new technology, they were able to get blood off the shoes. And with this new testimony of a woman who claimed to be camping nearby.
Why is she just now saying something?
Right? All of this led to the bonkers arrest of the lone survivor, Niels Gunderson.
So they arrested a survivor.
Yeah, they arrested the survivor.
Did that guy have like cuts and bruises? Or was he actually attacked?
So, the story that the prosecution was trying to weave is something that you would probably see in a Reddit, Am I the Asshole? Or Monster-in-Law or whatever, right? Okay. They claim that Niels killed his girlfriend, Malia, in a fit of drunken and jealous rage. They think that he had gotten into a scuffle with his friend, and that's how he got his injuries. Because keep in mind, he had a concussion, a broken jaw, and a deep cut on his forehead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
After this quote-unquote scuffle, he killed the other couple in an attempt to get rid of any witnesses to his crime of passion.
Okay.
The new eyewitness claims to have seen Niels acting aggressively towards the other boy, and they went into the tent. The defense claimed that there was no motive for the crimes and that the injuries he had sustained himself would have been impossible to inflict that kind of pain on himself, as well as been able to really kind of function and kill 3 people. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Niels had been convicted. He was convicted, but only served 1 year of his life sentence when an appeal was successful and it granted his freedom. The case is still open. Many people still believe that Niels is guilty, while others are unsure who the killer could be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. I won't lie. The police botched this one real good. They didn't secure the crime scene.
No.
No. No. See, when you get to a crime scene, you're supposed to, like...
Not touch a fucking thing.
Well, not only that, Jessica, but, like, this was an outside crime scene that they didn't get to for hours after these people died. And they did not, like, cord it off, tape it off, whatever you got, you know, to try and keep it as sterile as possible. So it was contaminated so quickly by onlookers who were like, what's going on? So any footprints that they could have gotten, those are useless because people were trampling through the campsite. They didn't take any samples of the suspicious red stains that were on Hans Assmann's clothing, you know. Didn't do anything there. And they also got alibis, but didn't do any further investigation into those alibis. Because just because I give you an alibi, and it may seem like it's airtight, it's just my word that we were together. Unless there is video proof. Unless something like that happens. But they took these alibis at exactly face value. They couldn't have done it because they were with this other person.
Just like the sleeping wife and the first guy.
Yes.
And then she later recanted and said,
no, he actually wasn't with me. So it seems like with Niles' trial that they were trying to paint the picture to fit their desired outcome. Like, they were just trying to find somebody to pin it on, and they were like, well, I mean, if it wasn't these other people that were very, very good suspects, it's gotta be that guy. He had to have gotten jealous and drunk and killed everybody, and then tried to, like, make it look like he had also been injured. But, like, if you get hit hard enough to break your jaw, to get a concussion, and a big, deep laceration on your forehead, if you're not getting up from that because you've been knocked unconscious, do you think someone's going to be like, let me just stab you a whole bunch of times? No. More than likely, Niels was attacked first because he was found a little bit further away outside from the tent. The people in the tent were done next. Okay, they were bludgeoned. Then, in my thought process is Melia comes back and she sees everything and she puts up a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
More than likely she put up a hell of a fight and the guy just kept going and kept going. He's like, man, this bitch is fighting real hard. And so he's just stabbing in just this adrenaline fueled state of mind.
Yeah, it's just a frenzy at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to think, if he had those hardcore concussion lacerations damaged himself, if he hit himself hard enough to get a concussion, why didn't they find a murder weapon?
Right?
I mean, if he hit himself hard enough, he probably would have knocked himself unconscious and still had that freaking murder, like that weapon in his hand next to his body.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could think of is that the murder weapon was tossed into Lake Bodom, but I don't know how deep the lake is, and I don't know if they tried to dredge the lake at any point, but I know that evening that the girls were inside the tent for a while and the boys were outside fishing really late at night.
Yeah.
The murders had to have taken place between about 3 to 4 a.m. to just before 6 a.m. That's when they had to have taken place. Because at 6 a.m., that's when the bird watchers saw the blonde man leave.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was either kiosk man or ass man. It's that those are the only two more plausible reasons.
I would agree.
But why? What motive would Assman have had? That's the only thing. Like, kiosk man hated campers. Okay, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he may have gone overboard drunkenly, right?
Yeah.
But Assman, I don't know what his motive would have been. So,
I don't know.
I mean, that's the Lake Bodom murder case. I think it's Finland's #1 unsolved crime case to date. But I'm going to lay this one to rest for now, because unless we get more information, or if you guys want me to do a more in-depth deep dive where I actually go over like what the boys were doing that evening, if anything happened, and then further information from Niels, because, you know, he's a free man. I think
He's still alive?
he might be. If he is, he's real old. I didn't really look into seeing if he was still alive.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's it for our Friday the 13th special, our amazing Gravediggers. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, send us messages, comment, like, rate, all that stuff.
Yep, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast listening platforms. We're also available on YouTube, where you've got a little video. It does not have us in it, but hey, it's there, especially for those people who either work from home and you just want to listen to something, and it's easier to pull up YouTube than it would be like Spotify player or anything like that. But
I mean, and we're also very active on our Discord. We don't really have anybody in our graveyard as of yet, so
nope.
Yeah, you can come talk to us. We're always on.
Yep. There is no one in the graveyard yet. It's just us chilling, sending memes occasionally, you know? So,
yeah. But I guess we're going to lay this one to rest, and we will see you on Wednesday, Gravediggers.
Yep, for our regularly scheduled programming.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you heard, please feel free to follow, like, rate, and review Tales from the Graves podcast on your preferred listening platform. We also would like to know what you think and what topic you suggest we unearth next. Email us at talesfromthegravespod@gmail.com or reach out to us at Tales from the Graves podcast on Instagram. And if you have Discord, join us in the graveyard. The link is in our bio on our Instagram, as well as this listening platform. Thanks again, Gravediggers.
Ass man. He's an ass man.
A big old ass man.
Ass man. Fucking fart in a jar for money. $20 a fart? Hell yeah. Let me just eat some brown beans, bitch.
Oh my. Hell yeah, I'd fart in a jar.
I think if you ever sold anything that was like on you or had your DNA, you would have to keep those fucking receipts in the event that that person fucking murdered people or got murdered themselves. We were just talking about me shitting in a jar for $20. That is cheap, honestly.